Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nerd for No Reason podcast. I'm Mark.
Hey there, I'm Raven.
And welcome to the show. Welcome to our first show. This is great. I'm so glad we're here. Raven, I'm so glad that you're here.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited, pretty jazzed. It's
So
going to be a fun time.
I think it's going to be a great time. I've been bugging anyone who will listen to me. I've been talking about this all week long. This has just been, I've been like a kid on Christmas Eve waiting for us to get here, sit here, and record. So, and it's great.
Yeah.
Plus, I got to watch two movies that I thoroughly enjoyed. So
True.
that's great. So for everyone coming to the show for the first time, this is the first show. We're going to talk about any and all things nerdy. Comics, movies. So I think that we don't really have a theme, I don't think, do we? Besides like nerdiness, like we don't have a theme like, oh, we're going to watch these sets of movies. It's just kind of whatever we want to watch. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it'll just be variations of whatever we're feeling that week, I guess.
Cool. So I think we got an action-packed show. We're going to talk about G4 TV closing down again. We're going to talk about the new Ant-Man and the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer.
Got Henry Cavill back as Superman.
Yes.
Gonna do that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. We'll talk a little bit about some UFOs because apparently they're a thing again. And we are going to talk about our favorite movies. My favorite movie of all time is The Lost Boys, the 1987 vampire hit starring the two Coreys, The Lost Boys.
And then my favorite movie is going to be Rocky Horror Picture Show, starring, of course, the famous Tim Curry.
The legend Tim Curry.
Love it. Rest in peace, that beautiful man.
So, all right. Well, let's get into the news, man. Let's talk about. I don't know if this happened necessarily this week, but it's close enough to this week that and this was such an institution to me anyway that I feel like it needs to be talked about. G4 TV. Now, when I was talking to you earlier about this, Raven, you had no idea what G4 TV was.
I had absolutely no idea. I literally said it and was like, never heard of it. Sorry.
Well, probably about 15 years ago, G4 TV was like the premier nerd. It was an entire channel on actual factual television that catered to all things tech and geek and nerdiness, and they had talk shows, and it was stuff that appealed to people like us. This is where Olivia Munn got her start. This is where the cast of characters that came through there, had other things going on, but this was the place to get like in a pre-YouTube era. This is where you got your video game information. This is where you got movie information, and it was so much fun. Their flagship shows were X-Play, which talked primarily about video games, and then they had another show that Olivia Munn was famously on called Attack of the Show, which was more of a talk show type thing. And it came on late afternoon, around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and it was Attack of the Show was kind of like the show, but it was just kind of pandemonium. They would have celebrity guests come on and do the interview type thing, but they would also do wacky sketches. And these were the first people to give us outsiders, the public, an insight into like E3 or the Las Vegas electronics show, where E3 back in the day was notoriously secretive. I say that, but they wouldn't let anyone except press in. And then G4 got access. And it was like, oh man, it was a weekend of just, hey, here's the new games. They broadcast all the you know how Microsoft and all these big game companies have the their conferences or their big kind of show off shows for E3.
Yeah.
That was G4. They did it
Oh,
for
okay.
G4 originally. So
Hmm.
uh, eventually, the channel got shut down due to financial problems, and it was what it was. It was terrible that it happened. Well, probably about a year ago, they decided they wanted to launch it back up. And they gave the reins to, they didn't know what to do with it when they launched it back up. Initially, it started as a web thing, like a YouTube channel, for the lack of better words. They had, they rebooted Attack of the Show. They had some YouTubers on there, Gina Darling, Will Neff. They brought in a wrestler, Austin Creed, aka Xavier Woods, who was the breakout star as far as I'm concerned. He
Hmm.
was so much fun. And it was panned. They had Kasim G. He's an old school YouTuber. It was so much fun. And then they brought back X Play and started trying to do that again. Again, a ball, and they just didn't know what to do with it. And it breaks my heart. They closed it down again, and I think that the people in charge just went a little bit too heavy in the paint in a relaunch 15 years where the landscape has completely changed and they just didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, media over time has just come soaring. So to go so long without being there, I guess it's hard to just jump into that.
Yeah. But I think that if they got that same crew and started their own YouTube channel, I really hope that they do something else because the talent that was there was so fun and so entertaining that I encourage everyone to go on YouTube and find the old episodes of Attack of the Show and find the one with the gravy laser. If the
Gravy
words
laser.
gravy
All right.
laser don't get you, um, I watched that with my oldest daughter and we laughed for almost 90 minutes straight at that one particular episode. And that's what got her hooked. And now she was like, "Oh man, I'm behind on Attack of the Show. I haven't watched it." And that's something as silly as it sounds, but we would watch Attack of the Show together. And there's some things where I'm sitting there watching it with my 13-year-old going, "Oh man, I hope she don't ask questions because boy, I don't want to have to talk with her."
Right.
But RIP G4 TV, man. I will miss you, and I appreciate the effort. So I don't know, Raven. You're so much younger than me that when you were younger than you are now, like, did you ever
Mhm.
have a time pre YouTube where you had to get like nerd type information in? I don't know. You've never been without the internet, have you?
I'm a Gen Z.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Uh, it's funny because, like, I definitely do remember us having, like, a computer. Of course, it was your classic, like, desktop. It took forever to load up,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of jazz. I wasn't allowed to go on it unsupervised because I lived in a nice little wholesome Christian family. So my grandparents always had to make sure whatever I was doing, they were like, okay, it's safe. Because, of course, pop-up ads and whatever else come up there, you never know what's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And so, you're right. And so, like, I would mostly just play, like, solitaire or whatever, or play games online. It's not like I,
Minesweeper.
like, got on there for, like, news-based stuff. Um, I guess mostly if I did get, like, intake from, like, media, it was mostly just, like, TV, just being like, "Hey," the Disney Channel, for whatever reason, like, they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, if you go check out this, you can go, get inside scoop from the celeb," stuff like that, but,
Yeah.
like, it's not like I, like, grew up excessively internet based.
Mm-hmm.
I really just didn't get into the internet scene until probably like middle school, actually, because I had to start doing stuff for school, and my grandparents were finally like, Okay. But we'll check on you every now and then. But yeah.
We'll take the we'll give you just enough rope to hang yourself, and then you were just like, all right, let's see what the
Exactly.
internet really has to offer. I
Just
can't.
come running in, just being like, "What are you doing right now?" I'm typing a paper for science. What's up?
Not to show my age or anything, but when I was in middle school, the internet really wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine what what I would have done if I would have had instant access to everything, especially like high school or like I always refer to like 22-year-old Mark was so wild and so out of control because I was out of the house. I had a paycheck. I was in the military. I was living my best life. Thank God I didn't have a cell phone that recorded video like we
Right.
have now. You know, thank God that didn't exist. Granted, I carried an old school like high 8 camera around with me there somewhere. I don't even know if it's still in existence or if it's in a landfill somewhere. But at one point, there was literal, just hundreds of hours of tapes of us, me and my friends, just running around and having a good time and doing some like we didn't really do that much dumb stuff because I was always scared that the government was going to be like, "Hey, you're doing dumb stuff." But we didn't have YouTube. If we would have had
Yeah.
YouTube, that shit would have been on YouTube. So yeah,
I know. It's like I talk to some of my friends now and they're like, I don't know. Like, you see iPad kids like out all the time. And you're just like, whoa, these kids are literally just like smarter than me on an iPhone, I swear. And
man,
I'm just like, what would I have done if I had had like an iPhone in middle school? I literally just had flip phones and I continued to break them. I feel like my grandparents went through like 10, 10 flip phones while I was in middle school. It was
man,
so bad.
man, I didn't even have my first cell phone until I was like 21 or 22.
Yeah.
And it was like that Nokia thing that the internet makes fun of because it's so tough. I had that phone and it was a monster.
Oh
Like
yeah, one of
I
my friends had one.
I could not break it. So, and I did enough dumb stuff as 22-year-old Mark that it didn't break. I had that thing until I left the country and went to go live in another country. So,
Oh my gosh.
yes. So, all right. Let's talk about Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yeah.
This makes me happy for a lot of different reasons because it feels like a lot of stuff has happened in the DC universe in
hmm
the past week. Have you heard about all the stuff that's happening?
I've seen like little bits and pieces of like different things, but I don't think that most stuff that is like really popped up on my feed. I know that Black Adam's out right now with The Rock,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that Henry Cavill made like a little appearance in there.
Yeah, apparently The Rock fought to get Henry Cavill back, and um, and God bless him. I heard the Black Adam movie is like not really good. It's not really bad, but it's
Mm.
also not really good.
hmm
But you know, like I said, The Rock fought to bring Henry Cavill back, and at the same time, they're doing Aquaman, and they brought Batman back for that, or Ben Affleck. They brought him back for that.
Oh yeah.
So that's good. But also, this past week, they fired whoever was in charge of DC films and
Oh
brought in
yeah.
James Gunn of Guardians of the
Yeah.
Galaxy fame, who also did that Suicide Squad movie with John Cena, which also
hmm
spawned a very successful Peacekeeper
Yeah.
show, which was great. So they brought him in to be in charge, and I think watching. Did you get a chance to watch the video of Henry Cavill saying, "Hey, I'm back as Superman"?
Yeah. I saw that.
Okay,
It
so
was
so in that he mentions like, hey, I'm looking forward. He thanked the fans, which is great, but I can also kind of tell by reading between the lines that it seems like he's happy to hopefully get a movie where Superman isn't brooding,
Yeah.
because that's not Superman. I want my Superman to have bright colors. I don't want my Superman
Right.
to be in grayscale.
Yeah. Cause he hadn't been Superman since the Justice League, right?
Right.
Back in 2017?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Oh.
yeah, and I take a lot of umbrance with the Man of Steel movie.
Mhm.
It's great to have a Superman movie, but at the same time, there was a lot of stuff that Zack Snyder I think really missed the mark on with that with his Superman and Superman versus Batman. There's a lot of stuff I feel like he was like, hey man, it'd be cool if we did this, or no, no, you literally have 100 years worth of Superman comics
Right.
that you can pull from, and there's just like a few touchstones that that I think are so vitally important to the Superman mythos, and one of them that this is what really just here's the nerd rant that that this podcast is just going to be like, oh man, here it is. I'm not going to complain about Star Wars. I'm going to complain about Superman in the first episode. Here we go. The whole point of Pa Kent dying of a heart attack in the comics and every other time this character has been introduced is that Superman or Clark, with all of his infinite powers to be able to stop a train and jump real high and lasers and all of this stuff, with all of his infinite powers, there's some things that you just cannot control.
Mhm.
And that is an important lesson, I feel, for Clark to be like, oh, yes, I need to learn to accept loss and handle grief and do all these other things. Like, it's a very important concept for him. For the Man of Steel movie, when, uh, uh, what's his name? Field of Dreams. Why can't I think of his name? Oh, this is going to kill me. Anyway, when Pa Kent is going, don't show anybody your powers. No, don't save me from the tornado. No, he's Superman. He literally could have ran in there, saved him, and gone the opposite way from everybody, and Pa Kent would be saved. That's not what the character dies for, you know.
Mhm.
Oh, that just killed me. That made me
I'm
so
trying to look
angry.
it up.
Kevin Costner,
Uh,
that's his name.
there you go.
So, and then Batman versus Superman. I mean, they put Gotham right across the river from Metropolis. That
Yeah.
chapped him, but too. I was like, oh, so Gotham is like New Jersey, is what you're saying. We're just
Yeah.
right across the river.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
Dude.
all right, let's focus on the positives. Let's get back to praising Henry Cavill, because I liked Henry Cavill. He seemed to really enjoy it. He almost missed the audition because he was playing WoW. He was playing World of Warcraft. He was raiding and was almost late to his audition because he was playing World of Warcraft.
Nice. Oh.
So,
I mean, he does a really good job as the Superman, but yeah, like you said, it would be nice to have like that bright, cheery, like Superman. Like when you think of the original comics or the original movies that came out, you don't think of like Superman, like an emo Superman. Like
right.
you want someone that's like, oh, heck yeah, I'm 100% rooting for this man. I want everything good to go on in his life. But yeah, I feel you.
Well, I look forward to seeing what they're going to do. I have a lot of faith in James Gunn that he's going to team Spider Man. Oh boy, Superman up with a good director.
Hmm.
Also, I'm sure that Ben Affleck, now that there's different people in charge, that he'll probably come back too. If Ezra Miller can stay out of jail and show that he's shown enough improvement in
Oh
rehab,
God. Good luck with that.
I know. I got a feeling he's going to go to jail, and they're going to have to recast Flash, thanks to the Flashpoint. Because I am so surprised that they canceled Batgirl, and somehow the Flash is still alive. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So there's yeah. But I'm sure in about 4 or 5 years we'll get it. Oh, and I just saw this trying to do like a little bit of last minute research. Henry Cavill, because he's picked back up the mantle of Superman, will not be doing The Witcher anymore for Netflix.
I saw that.
They're giving it to Thor's little brother.
Yeah. I saw that on Twitter and I was like, what the heck is this? Why would you just recast? But yeah, I guess that makes sense because, Superman's going to bring in way more revenue, way more popularity.
Yeah.
Like, The Witcher is good. I haven't watched it in a hot minute, but I did like what I saw. But Superman's going to bring way more
Yeah.
happiness to this man, probably.
I think so. But he really seems to just be kind of enjoying life, which is good because especially for someone who, I mean, for someone who was Superman and then The Witcher and was also in the Mission Impossible movie with Tom Cruise and, has had a very successful, lucrative career, he's been relatively low key. Not necessarily getting in trouble or anything like that, because Jason Momoa has had a very big career as well since he did Game of Thrones, and he hasn't gotten in any trouble, but he's still out there. You see pictures of him doing stuff and all this other. Henry Cavill doesn't do that.
Yeah, he's very, very chill, laid back, behind the scene type of dude, feels like. But
Yeah, I hope he don't.
maybe this will get him back out there.
I hope so. I hope he don't lose his mind.
Yeah. Oh God.
I can't even imagine what would happen if he just like he started dating Kim Kardashian or,
Oh goodness.
I know.
Don't speak it into existence.
All right, let's talk about the new Marvel, the new MCU trailers that dropped this week. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. So
Yeah.
this seems to be piggybacking off of the Loki series. Did you watch that?
I must admit I haven't, but I'm planning on doing it because I was told I need to in order to understand some of the movie, which is fair.
Yeah.
I've just been
I think they're doing good things now because they're making the movies and stuff such a way that you don't necessarily have to see the show, but it would help a lot because
Yeah.
Kang the Conqueror is our villain for Ant-Man and the Wasp, and he was first introduced in Loki, which is a fantastic show. So everyone needs to go watch that. It's actually a really good show. Owen Wilson gives probably the best performance of his career of all weird
Wilson.
things. So, yeah, they recast his daughter again,
Oh, yeah?
Scott Lang's daughter, which is weird because I really like that actress the grown up version of Cassie from Endgame. I don't know why they would do that. I'm sure it's probably Hollywood stuff.
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer's is back. Who else?
See that Bill Murray's in there. What's up?
Man, Bill Murray's starting to catch a lot of shit this week. Have you
I
heard?
know.
Yes.
I've
Seth
been
Green
seeing
came
it.
out and started talking.
Oof.
But
Love that man, but
which one, Seth Green or Bill Murray?
ah, well, I love Seth Green, but Bill Murray's like close to my heart because grew up watching Ghostbusters
Yeah.
how many times a year, and now I'm just like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
but I heard the story. I was like, man, that kind of tracks with Bill Murray. Like, I'm not really
right,
surprised, but at the same time, I am a little bit because it was, a little kid that he was doing it to. But
right.
also,
The fact
really,
that he
I'm
just
like,
like picks him up and he's just like, get out of my kid.
right. just screaming at an 8-year-old Seth Green, just picking him up by the ankles, like, "What are you doing? I'm Bill Murray."
Also, I saw like some tweet that was like, I never thought I would see Seth Green age. Like, did he's always looked the exact same? So like he hit maturity, and he does look like a little older. And so people were like reminiscing on that. But just yeah, no, I feel you.
The new Ant-Man trailer where we go. Oh man, this looks very Thor Ragnarok to me.
Hmm.
Very much like we're all the actors are on green screen. 90% of 90% of the movie. We're just gonna throw pretty lights at you, which I'm all for. I loved Ragnarok.
Yeah, super good.
Yeah. So I think this has the potential to be really good. This might be this and like the new Black Panther movie that's coming out in a couple weeks. I think this might be the actual kind of connecting tissue that we've all been looking for in this new wave of like post Endgame Marvel movies because they seem so disjointed.
Right.
I think with these legacy characters, I say legacy characters, um, these ones that are carryover from the previous phases, that this is going to be kind of the glue or the connective tissue where we're like, oh, now we kind of see where we're going or what the bigger thing is that's going on that may
Hmm.
lead to bigger things, hopefully.
Yeah, I really hope so. Um, you saw Doctor Strange, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Like everything about that movie, I did really enjoy. And I had seen WandaVision beforehand, and I kept telling like my friends, I was like, "Have you guys seen it?" And they're like, "No." And then they were like, "We'll go eventually." And I was like, "Did you see WandaVision?" They were like, "No." Like, we know that, we know what goes on. I'm like, "Oh yeah, so you know about her kids?" And they were like, "She has kids?" I'm like, you gotta no, you gotta watch it. So I definitely want to make sure I watch the Loki show before I go watch this now.
Yeah, it'll definitely help.
Sweet.
And I think the same day they dropped the Ant-Man trailer, they dropped the Guardians, a Marvel special presentation of Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special.
Oh my God, it looks so cute. I'm not even gonna lie.
It looks super fun.
I think it's gonna be really good. I really hope so.
I am so. First off, I love Dave Bautista as Drax.
Hmm.
It took me
Yeah.
it took me a little bit in the first movie to get on board with him, but the joke in the very first movie where um, they said something about, oh, it's going to go over your head, and he's like, no, I have very good reflexes. That was the point where I was like, I am totally on board with this character. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. Um, I am down for Drax,
Hmm.
and they kind of I don't know. I don't think they handled him right in the second movie. He was fine, but when I've seen him in other movies, he's a super fun character, and I love that they've teamed up him and Mantis again to
Oh
go
yeah.
capture Kevin Bacon. Just
Yeah.
what the hell are you talking about? Yes.
The Kevin Bacon part totally threw me off. I was not expecting that. I was like, oh, they'll probably get him something, cute, or maybe like, the whole cassette tape thing
Mm-hmm.
might be something with that. But no, Kevin Bacon. I was like, they're gonna steal Kevin Bacon and take him to space. Can you imagine if he became a guardian of the galaxy?
Oh, that would be great. Just in Guardians 3, it's just like, all right, we got everybody. Kevin Bacon, are you ready? He's like, I'm ready. That would be great.
Sitting there next to Groot, just like,
It's just like, I
you
don't know
guys,
what you're saying, Tree Man.
do you guys understand this guy? I really hope it's a good time. I think it will be.
I think so too. I'm kind of curious how long it's going to be. I wonder if they're just going to do all of their specials about an hour long, like they did with Werewolf by Night. Did you see that?
Hmm. No. What is that?
That is another Marvel special presentation that they dropped a couple weeks ago, I guess, to kind of get everyone ready for spooky season.
Oh.
And it's a kind of a bunch of it's an obscure story, and they have characters, the Man Thing. It's about a bunch of monster hunters that show up trying to kill the monster, and then they end up capturing a werewolf. And I don't really want to give too much away because you really need to just experience for the first time, as it rolls. But it's only an hour long.
Hmm.
I think it comes in just under an hour. It's tight. There's no wasted. There's no wasted scenes or anything like everything.
Hmm.
It is a wonderful little short film for all intents and purposes, and it's great. It doesn't involve like anything in the MCU as a bigger scope,
Ooh.
and it's
I'm gonna have
just
to
it's its
check that
own
out.
isolated story. It's fantastic.
Well, I'm all about all things spooky and Halloween, so I'll definitely give that a
Yeah,
watch.
and it has like this real kind of old school, like 1960s kind of Hammer horror vibe
Ooh,
to it. So it's really fun.
I like that. Okay, yeah, I'll
So
definitely check that out. Maybe tonight.
okay, yeah, I mean it's a real quick watch. You'll love it. I think you will. Yeah, it has the mark seal of approval on it.
Ooh.
So
So you know what else is spooky?
what?
Aliens,
Ooh.
UFOs, stuff like that.
I thought aliens when I was a kid. I thought aliens were going to be a way bigger problem than what they turned out to be. I thought aliens and quicksand were eventually going to just kill me, and they haven't.
Right? I mean, you grew up in the time that like the X-Files was like playing and stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
sure. I
It-
feel like you probably watched the X-Files.
oh, I love that. Actually, me and my father used to watch the X Files every Sunday night.
Ooh.
My dad.
Yeah.
For him to say, X Files, yeah, that was cool. We used to watch it is kind of a shock now, because I think he floored me and Chris one time when he was like, "Oh yeah, Twin." I used to watch Twin Peaks, and we were like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Oh yeah, I think I was actually there for that, and I was like, "Yeah, that's what's up, Danny."
So yeah, we used to watch. Every time I think about UFOs and stuff, especially in the media, I always think about this one movie that was quote unquote based on true events called Fire in the Sky. And it was about this very popular story in the late 80s, early 90s about some redneck who got abducted by aliens and experimented on, and for some reason this guy made a lot of news. I don't know if he just was really detailed about a story. I can't remember it. I'll have to look it up later. But
Hmm.
they made a movie about it, and this movie was moderately successful. But it was just like, oh yeah, aliens and this and so real and stuff, and it wasn't like anyone could fake it like they can now. I mean, a 12-year-old with Blender can and After Effects can make something that's realistic looking in a very short amount of time.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, but like been seeing, you know, for a while, the government was like, "No, no, no, no. We don't we don't have UFOs. We don't have aliens. That's not real." And then there was just like one day where they were like, "Oh no, we totally saw UFO sightings." And like Twitter was just silent about it. The fact that like everyone was like, "Did they really post that? Like what's going on here?" But I feel like there's been a lot of people talking about sightings late recently. I don't know if that's going on in your neck of the woods on social media, but it has been in mine for some reason.
I've seen it come across a little bit, like
Hmm.
not a whole lot, but I've seen it come across a little bit. And as the most famous kind of video I've seen floating around is I think it was the one they released a couple years ago when the government finally was like, yes, UFOs, yes, was the video from the airplane where the crew is tracking it with their little black and white screen. and you hear them in the background like, oh, I got it, we're tracking it, yeah, we don't know what it is.
Hmm.
As someone who has in the past worked on airplanes and specifically that system, and I've been around airplanes my entire adult career life, that is the thing that fascinates me the most because now I want to know what it is. Was it just a test aircraft from another country? Was it really aliens? Did we really track something? Like, I have so many questions about that particular video, that,
Hmm.
oh, I want alien. I would love for extraterrestrial contact 100%. I want it so bad.
Yeah. Now, Chris and I listened to a podcast. It's called Chilluminati, and there's like one dude on there who specifically loves aliens. Like he's like, this is the greatest thing ever. He will be like, oh no, I totally saw a UFO sighting last night, and he'll get super into it and all. And then there's the one dude that's just sitting in the back, and he's like, I don't buy it. It's basically like, you know, to go back to X Files, it's the Fox Mulder and Dana Scully, like where it's like, no, we totally saw that. And even if like he saw it with his own eyes, he'd be like, well, I'm sure there's a scientific reason for it. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's a good podcast if you ever want to listen to. He'll just talk about the different species of aliens and stuff like that.
Oh man.
Yeah. But I did see like some report where the government was like, we think that most of the UFOs that we're seeing are actually just like spy drones, or I think it was like airborne trash is the phrasing that they said. It
Okay.
was weird. Yeah. So they're just trying to be like, no, maybe it's just from another country. And it's like, how are you going to go from like one year to be like, no, they're totally out there, to like the next be like, well, maybe we were a little wrong.
Well, if you have to, I think it's kind of a double edged sword when they released it because they released it during a very kind of when a political thing was happening, and they were like, we need to do something so the news cycle is not reporting on our politics 100% of the time, all day, every day. So let's give them some UFOs and see what happens. Because really, the news cycle 100% was just like politics, 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 politics. And they were like,
Yeah.
what's the biggest information we can release that might just have people focus on this instead of what our politicians are doing? And they were like, aliens. What's the alien information we can give them? Johnson, get on the phone. And they released something, and it was such a minuscule thing, like Twitter didn't have a fit with it, just all these things. And I think partially because it was the grainy video. It's like looking at the Loch Ness monster picture.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, but that really could be anything. So we'll see. I am definitely not one of those people who's foolish enough to believe that we're the only planet in the universe with, sentient life. I 100% believe that I'm sure our nearest solar system has sentient life, and nothing would make me happier if someday we could travel into quote unquote deep space in some type of futuristic jets and all that. Gosh, I hope that I can do that. I hope I can go into space before I die. Experience
What, you want a
weightlessness.
Planet of the Apes it?
Oh man, damn you! Damn you all to hell! Yeah, I can't do a Charlton Heston, but that would, man. I've said many times before that I would love to work for the Space Force if it would just get me closer to getting a ride into space.
Dude,
I
you
don't.
should have gone to Storm Area 51. Remember when that was like a thing where everyone was like, this specific date, we're gonna do it.
And that was such a weird internet thing that happened, and I love it.
It was
And
so good.
I also love that no one got in trouble. Like, all the nerds did great things.
Yeah.
I'm sure the base there was like, oh, we got to get on high alert, but none of the nerds did dumb things. The only running, quote unquote, that they did was that kid who did the Naruto run behind the newscaster, which was which,
That was so good. Oh my gosh.
which was so much fun. Ah, I love you nerds. When you guys get together, good stuff happens.
The blessing to the earth.
They are. They are. Except, y'all, I mean, to be fair, I've been to enough conventions. Y'all could like put on deodorant more. Oh, yeah, I said it. All right, are you ready to talk about movies?
I'm always ready to talk about movies.
I've been
You want
most
to go first?
sure. I've been most excited about this part all week long.
You'll never grow old, Michael. And you'll never die. Be one of us.
Notice anything unusual about Santa Carla yet?
It's a pretty cool place. If you're a Martian.
Or a vampire. How far are you willing to go, Michael? Guess first. Now you know what we are. Now you know what you are.
My own brother, a vampire. You wait till Mom finds out, buddy.
You don't want to miss this.
Both of these movies are our favorite. Lost Boys for me, Rocky Horror Picture Show for Raven. You had never seen The Lost Boys, right?
I had not.
Okay, I thought I had seen Rocky Horror Picture Show all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had. Apparently, I forgot the entire movie except for the time warp, or up to the time warp. No, excuse me, all the way up to Sweet Transvestite. Don't remember anything past that. So it was like me watching this movie again for the first time.
Oh,
I
we
must
both
have
got to
drank
have
more in my 20s than I
experiences.
thought. It was super fun. But let's talk about The Lost Boys because I really want to get your impression. First, let me say this up top. I feel like I have to give reasons why this is my favorite movie because this is an odd choice and I am fully aware of that. That this movie in and of itself, it's not really good. It's campy. It's cheesy. It's kind of corny because it has the two Corys in it, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. But back in the day when this movie would come on like your TBS or your TNT or your USA Network or anything like that, where they would put it on that loop and show it like 20 times over the weekend, every time I would flip through the channels and see that it was on, I would watch it. And I would always pick it up in the middle. I'm like, oh, cool. We're here. I guess I'm watching The Lost Boys. And then I'd get done. And the credits would start rolling. I'd flip through the channels. About an hour later, I'd flip through the channels again. And here I am stuck watching The Lost Boys again, from a different part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I came to the conclusion that this is my favorite movie, that I have probably seen this movie more than any other movie that I've seen. And I have like fallen to sleep to the Lord of the Rings movies many times and the Star Wars movies. And I love those movies. But for some reason, The Lost Boys I have this whole movie memorized. And watching it again this week was still a super fun watch. I thought Kiefer Sutherland was the coolest dude on the planet. I still think he's the coolest dude on the planet, unless he's done something recently that makes him a horrible person. He was super cool to me. This is the acting debut of Alex Winter of Bill and Ted fame. What else? And I was telling my kids I can remember where I was the first time. I can take them to the place where the trailer was that I saw this movie for the first time on a VHS tape where someone taped it off of HBO when I was 7 years old.
Hmm.
So, should I have watched this at 7 years old? No. My mother made questionable decisions about my viewing history. But
I know.
this this movie was, for some reason, like, I've owned it on every medium except Laserdisc. It's just so much fun to me. So now, Raven, I want to know what you thought as a full grown adult watching this movie, because I'm sure like the novelty of Corey Haim and Corey Feldman being in a movie together is probably lost on you. But please tell me what you thought.
All right. So I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Um, you know, it's it's got some stupid little silly parts in there, but like I think that style of movie is so good. I watched it with Chris and he was like, "Wow. I think that they should make more movies like in this style." Cuz honestly, I love the entire vibe of it. Like you said, it's kind of campy, but you know, we've seen vampire movies nowadays, like we've seen like Twilight and other stuff like that. But something about those vampires feel very like authentic, even though they're like punk and kind of grimy and whatever.
Right.
I thought it was such a good
I,
movie.
I, I think I think you might have just hit the nail on the head. Is that every time we see vampires in any medium, like Underworld, the Twilight movies, even Blade, which I love Blade. All the vampires are always like so neat and pristine, and they're always sharp dressed, and they're always like these clean cut kind of creatures, you know? And in this one, they were kind of grimy.
Right?
I think you might have cracked the code. I've never picked up on that until right now. But yes, they were there was not like this luxurious, you know, oh,
They're
we've been
living in a cave and they're
right.
just like, we just come here, we hang out.
Yeah, we just do hot girl shit in here.
Right.
It was the cave. Oh my god, the cave. I wanted to hang out in that cave so bad.
Can you
If
imagine what you would find in there?
Oh, just apparently a big picture of Jim Morrison up on the wall. Just so cool. Like they just had random, like they had a fire pit, they had a fountain, they had chandeliers, they had a bed for Star and Letty to sleep in while everyone else just pieced out in a random cave, in somewhere else. Another thing that I noticed this go around too that I feel is important to bring up because we mentioned Twilight, that when after they stab the vampire in the cave and they
Hmm.
get the vampire blood on them, when they
Oh, yeah.
come out into the sunlight and they're going to get in the car and they got the blood on them, the blood is like sparkly slime. I just noticed it for the first time that it actually has like glitter in the
I
blood.
think I missed that.
And I rewound it like 3 times. I was like, oh no. Like, vampires have sparkly blood? Is this canon now? Like, what am I doing here?
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. I'll
yeah.
have to go back and look at that.
I swear as
Is
many.
that supposed to be like vampire lore that there's actually like sparkles and
I
stuff?
don't know, but everything's kind of leaning more towards it. No.
Oh,
I am so thrilled that you like this movie.
dude,
This,
it was a good time. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like sometimes like, you watch a movie and you're like, yeah, yeah, and you get bored and you like, look on your phone. I didn't look at my phone once, which is very much not like me because I was very much just like into this movie. I think I like movies that are set, you know, more in that time frame where it's like, oh, well, this is different than what I'm used to. Because, like, nowadays everything's like modern or it's futuristic. And
Right.
there's like a lot of different special effects and stuff. But I feel like the only real special effects that you saw, like you never saw the vampires actually flying.
Right.
You just saw their like face makeup, you saw them hanging upside down. Like I feel like that was the most like special effect that you saw other than wind constantly blowing there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah,
It was a
and
vibe.
it was I'm also a big fan of, practical effects and things like that, and it's always like you said, like you never see them flying. You see a few things, but it's just kind of tricky camera work, you
Hmm.
know? Like nowadays this would be if they made this movie nowadays, it would be this big CGI fest of vampires flying around, and they would probably throw in werewolves for no apparent reason. But looking at it through today's lens, it seems like this would be in like an indie film. It would
Hmm.
cost like 5 million. They'd be like, "Cool, yeah, we filmed it over a week in Santa Cruz," and that place where they filmed it is still an amusement park today. It's still there in Santa Cruz, California.
Hmm.
The roller coaster's still there. Everything is still there, which I want to go there now.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Man, it just I love this movie so much. It's just the perfect blend of camp and gore and everything for me because it's not scary. It's not another thing about vampires that I hate, and I think Key and Peele did a really good sketch on this, where every iteration of just about every iteration of vampires just shows them as just like these horn dogs,
Hmm.
and they hiss and do all these stereotypical things, and this doesn't do that. This is such a break from a non-comedic break because what we do in the shadows is a fantastic take on vampire stuff.
I love it. Oh my God.
But this is such like a non-comedic break in like that genre that it's so unique in and of itself. And they've made two sequels to this movie, and
Hmm.
they're both so bad I couldn't even make it past the first 15 minutes of it.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they were very much made for TV movies, like with the effects of like a sharktopus or piranha
Oh,
conda, like them sci-fi creature
yeah.
movies. So, all right. I I don't have much else left to say about the Lost Boys. Is there anything? I mean, we pretty much hit on it. I don't know if we should do like a plot recap. Basically, some a family moves to Santa Carla, the fake city in this movie. The older brother Michael gets teamed up with Kiefer Sutherland and becomes a part vampire. And you just wait till mom finds out that you're a goddamn shit sucking vampire. That was one of my favorite lines.
Oh my God, it cracked me up so hard.
But he's not a full vampire until he makes his first kill. And then Kiefer Sutherland, it all culminates in a big battle of vampires. And then we find out who the head vampire is, and then he dies. And then Grandpa comes in and says a quippy line, and then the Doors play. People are strange. And that,
Also, the grandfather reminded me of your dad so much. He's just like this crazy old dude that's just like, I do my thing, I come and go. And he's like, women? I'm supposed to have a date tonight? All right, let's go.
all
Go
right.
get me some.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about Rocky Horror.
You've seen all kinds of movies, but you've never seen anything like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
They're probably foreigners with ways different than our own.
I'm just a sweet transvestite.
See the Rocky Horror Picture Show. A different set of Jaws. Rated R.
My favorite movie. So, originally, my favorite movie was actually Grease. I watched Grease the first time in like third grade. My aunt and my mom were like doing stuff in the upstairs, and my aunt was like, "Here, watch this movie. I love it." And I was like, okay, became addicted to it. Anytime it would come on TV, would watch it. And then in like, I want to say like 2015, 2016, I saw Rocky Horror for the first time. And I was like, Grease can get out of the way. Rocky Horror is like number one in my heart right now. First of all, I love musicals. Absolutely love it.
Were you a theater
Have
kid?
Surprisingly, I wasn't a theater kid. I was a band kid, so I
Whoop,
couldn't
whoop.
really do both. But like I don't know. I like the stupidity of certain things in this movie. Like, cuz of course there's like a ton of things that just like don't make sense at all. But you watch it and you're like, I don't know what any of that meant, but I had a great time watching it. I love Tim Curry in it. Like,
Man, Tim Curry. All right. Now, Tim Curry, I was introduced to Tim Curry through it, as a bunch
mhm.
of kids my age were, because Rocky Horror was just a little bit before my time. But he acts his ass off in this movie. He does such a
Yeah.
wonderful job.
Oh my gosh. Like, especially for the year that it was made, it was like the 70s when it was made. So
Yes.
stuff like wasn't like that at the time. So the fact that he was like, I'm gonna just give it all, my entire all. We're going into it. Like, kudos to him
Kudos to all
because,
them people.
right?
Because, I mean,
Like the entire cast.
there's no way, because there's so much stuff, especially in the 70s, that they talk about or that they touch on that is just, I can imagine would have been so taboo in that time, that are still kind of taboo today. But, you know, they have, a transsexual, or, a transsexual. They have,
Hmm.
um, they explore homosexuality, which I know in the 70s was a big, big no topic.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know, for the lack of better words, swinging, and uh, just
Also, whatever was going on between Riff Raff and
magenta.
Magenta, yeah,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
they're like siblings, but
yeah,
whatever's going on
yeah.
there.
Whatever's
But
going on.
also, they're from like some different world, so you're like, maybe siblings mean something else,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Well,
But yeah,
I
oh my
thought,
gosh.
I thought. Now, apparently, I forgot 75% of this movie, because I thought Meatloaf had a way bigger part in this movie. No, he's in it for like a scene.
Yeah,
He comes up, sings a song, and he's gone. And I thought he was in the end scene. I don't
nope.
remember the final scene, or the musical number where they're swimming and stuff. Don't remember that at all. It was so wild as I'm watching it. I'm like, why do I not? Because I have been to a theater and seen this movie in a theater. And
Hmm.
maybe I was so caught up in the spectacle that I just don't remember anything that happened in the movie. Because have you ever seen this movie in a theater?
Yeah, we actually took Chris's mom for her birthday like 2 or 3 years ago, and we went to see it in the theater in Chattanooga.
It,
And
it was
that
at
was my first time seeing it, as a live type thing.
it
It
w-
was fun,
it was actually
to say the
Chris's
least.
mom that kind of put me on Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was kind of a terrible description of what it was all about, but he was like, "Oh yeah, there's this movie and people do this thing and blah 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 blah," and I didn't really understand it. And I think once I got out of the house, I was looking for a movie to watch one weekend, and I was at the video store and I saw Rocky Horror, and I got it and I watched it. And I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And I think I made it probably about halfway through the movie, and uh, and then someone told me, "Was like, oh, you're watching Rock. You know that the theater here in town. This was in Biloxi, Mississippi. was like, the theater here in town does a midnight show. And I was like, okay. He was like, oh no, they do this. It's a big thing. You need to go. So I went, and I was just so caught up in the vibe of everything that I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And I think I've watched it a couple times since then. And again, I don't know why I don't remember it. But again, I did drink a lot in my 20s. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to chalk it up to.
Fair
But
enough.
this movie is a blast. I cannot wait for my oldest daughter, who loves theater, to get old enough to where I can show her this movie, because I know that she will love this movie.
Oh, I know she will. Oh my gosh. Maybe I'll come up and we can all watch it together.
That's
And
a-
then she's going to be like, I'm here with my entire family and I want to die
Right.
during
Right.
the weird, like, sex scenes.
Right. Yeah. I might just be like, you know what? You just go experience this on your own. Like, I'll tell you about it, but you just go experience it on your own. So
Ooh, maybe I should just come up and take her to see it. Maybe
yeah,
that'll be
I
fun.
think it might be better if that's like a girls' trip.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because I've shown the amount of people that I've shown this movie to. Like, I showed my best friend probably like a week or two later, uh, Rocky Horror after the first time I saw it, and she was like, dude, what did you just show me? And I'm like, just give it a little time. That music, it's catchy enough. And then like,
you will hear
There's-
time warp out in the real world.
oh yeah,
We heard it last night.
absolutely.
We went to a local production of the Addams Family musical, and the music they were playing before the show started, they were playing, This Is Halloween and just a few
Monster
other
Mash, yeah.
yeah, and they played the time warp, and I'm sitting there trying to sing it to the kids, and they're like, "Whatever, old man, you're not cool,"
Oh,
Nah, it's okay. Hashtag dad life. So,
oh, but I'm glad you enjoyed Rocky Horror Picture Show.
it's super fun.
I know it's like it's definitely out there. So whenever people that like I talk to about it are like, "Oh my God, you love that too," I'm like, "Oh, thank God, I found my people."
Yeah, and you can always kind of tell. You can tell a lot. I've read this on the internet for years. You can tell a lot by a person of where they were introduced
To Tim
to
Curry.
Tim Curry.
Yeah.
This man is he's wild. The career that he has had. He's like, it's like very few people get to have a part where there's such a kind of cornerstone of so many popular franchises or just kind of pop culture things. It's like Tim Curry, Mark Hamill, a few other people where it's like, man, you have just been a part of every good thing. And Tim Curry's one of those people, man. Like, just, he's great.
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember when they did there was a time where they kept doing like the live musicals where they'd broadcast them on TV.
yes,
And Tim Curry was actually the narrator.
that's
Uh,
right.
Yeah, he was sitting because remember he was in the wheelchair just because he had some
He had a
health
stroke, I think.
difficulties. But yeah, I was so happy when I saw that. Ugh,
Wonderful.
good times.
All right, well let's go in for the close here, and I want to kind of close every episode off on a good note, regardless of what we talk about, because I don't know what our future episodes are going to hold, and I kind of want to just force us to talk about a real kind of quick hit, if you will, of what we've been doing that just kind of what we've been doing this week, this previous week, that has just kind of just put us in a good mood, that, put a smile on our face. So, Raven, I'm going to let you go ahead and start and just tell me what's made you happy this week.
All right. Well, I am actually a dog groomer, so I get to spend almost every day with like the cutest dogs. The place that I work has a doggy daycare, so we're constantly meeting new dogs. and I am always excited about that. So that always keeps me happy. But I actually did just finish another audiobook because I listen to them constantly because while the air dryer is going, they're so loud. I have to like put in noise canceling headphones. So I listened to a book and it's called Sometimes People Die. And it's about this Scottish doctor that moves to like England and like starts doing stuff there. But there's some mysterious stuff going on and they start realizing that people are dying suspiciously. So I actually really like the book. I would definitely recommend it. So if you're into audiobooks and stuff like that, give it a listen. What about you, Mark? What's made you feel good this week?
Finally recording this show. I have been so excited. This has made my whole months. I've been telling the kids for like 6 months now that I've been wanting to do podcast again, and they're like, "Well, do it." And then I put the word out on Twitter, and you said, "Let's do it," and I'm so happy. But if I have to pick something besides this podcast, I've actually I did a old trade system or trade thing with a friend of mine, and I got Super Smash Bros. For my Switch. And I've never been a big Smash Bros. Fan, or I don't want to say fan. I've just never got into it. So this is kind of like my first real kind of dipping my toes in the water of Smash Bros. And I am having a super fun time playing the game. I'm getting my butt handed to me constantly by the computer. I'm not brave enough to play other real people yet, but it has just been super duper fun. I am waiting for Amy to kind of get her Super Smash Bros. Legs, if you will, because then we're going to fight each other, and then that's going to be fun.
Oh,
so
it is a good game. It's a good party game. You know?
Is. So I have that on our Christmas list. So hopefully, one of the grandparents will be like, "Oh, Smash Bros. I'll get that for them." And then we can have it on our separate Switches, and we can play each other in separate rooms, or whenever I travel for work or something like that. So because she kicks my ass in Splatoon, she's really good at Splatoon, destroys me. So I know that whenever she gets on like first person shooters, like whenever I introduce her to Halo, it's going to be all over with. So.
Nice.
All right. Well, with that, let's say goodbye to everybody. Make sure that you follow us on all of our social medias at Nerd for No Reason. We're on Twitter, Facebook. We'll be getting a TikTok account, I'm sure, at some point, and putting stuff there. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse and say that we're going to start doing all these cool things, live streaming and doing all this. I genuinely don't know where this is going to go. I hope we can do all this fun stuff. If Raven's down for it, I totally want to do all the fun stuff and put LED lights behind me and be like, "Hey guys, we're streaming on Twitch," But go out there. Tell us what you want us to talk about. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on Facebook. Tell us what you want us to talk about. We'll talk about it, man. I love doing this kind of research. I love learning new things. So, hopefully we'll have some guests in the future. And that's it. Raven, anything else?
Nah, man. You hit the nail on the head.
All right. Well, cool. Y'all go out and do something wonderful today. Goodbye, everybody.
Keep on ingesting the media. Have a good time. Bye.